Folks, the white smoke went up today after 2 days of voting in the conclave. We have a new pope for the world's Catholic population. He hails from Chicago, but also in Peru. Cardinal Robert Prevost is the new pope, and he, of course, he was born in Chicago, becoming the first pope in history from the United States. Joining us we're going to play you what he had to say. Joining us right now is Father Michael Pfleger. Always glad to have Father Pfleger. He's been with St. Sabina there, Catholic Church in Chicago for a number of years. Father Pfleger, wow, your thoughts about Cardinal Prevost, now Pope Leo the 14th?
Well, I'm really excited, Roland. This guy comes out of Chicago, so he knows all the issues of an American city. He also knows the ideals coming from America of what America says they want to be, even though we've never achieved it. He knows the ideas for it and what the ideals are. And he knows what's going on in America right now. And he then goes to Peru. He was a pastor of a local parish, a missionary there. He was also a bishop there and knows the struggle of poverty and justice there. And then the last 3 years, he's been at the side of Francis, been at the side of Francis when Francis was condemning the treatment of the immigrants. With the side of him when just last Sunday, Easter Sunday, I should say, Francis talked about the horror of what's going on in Gaza and in Ukraine. He has a strong social justice background. He went to theology school at Catholic Theological University in Chicago, which is a progressive theological school. I think it's so appropriate and necessary right now that a guy who cares for the poor, cares about justice from America at the time of what America's going through right now, that he would become Pope. I'm excited.
One of the things that jumps out, and for folks who listen, for the first 25 years of my life, you know this. I was born and raised Catholic. The Catholic Church I grew up in was founded in my grandparents' living room. Our Lady Star of the Sea Catholic Church in Houston. And when a new pope comes along and they choose their name, they are very meticulous as to why they chose their name. He chose Pope Leo the 14th. Pope Leo the 13th is known as the father of social justice in Catholicism.
Absolutely. And that, like you say, they choose that very, very carefully because they want to send a message out by the name that they choose. And that's what he's done. He has people that I know who know him say that he is very concerned about justice, particularly the vulnerable, the disenfranchised. I think it's very key that the fact that he was just, about 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago, he gave a press conference where he talked about the purpose of the church is to build a tent that is large enough for everybody to come into it. I think the fact that Francis wanted him at his side these last 3 years, I'm telling you, I think it's also a very appropriate. I don't know about the rest of the country, but I know in Chicago, the primary group of immigrants in Chicago are Venezuelan, Haitian, and Peruvian. And don't think he doesn't know that and doesn't think what they're going through here in this country with this fascism and this tyranny. And I also think it's so important right now that he continues what Francis was trying to do at this time in America when we're seeing these Christian nationalists and this Trump administration and the Paula Whites and the rest who are trying to hijack Christianity and redefine Jesus, meet their mean, racist, supremacist mentalities. But Francis was clear on, and I think we'll see the same thing in Pope Leo, is that it was, no, that's not the Jesus of the Gospels. You are not going to hijack this. And if America ever needed a moral voice from somebody who knows America, it's right now.
Well, I think that's what really jumps out. I mean, 80% of the participants in the conclave, this was their first conclave. Pope Francis was very particular in moving and replacing cardinals. This also was the most diverse conclave
Right.
in history, hailing from so many different countries. And again, look, any pope understands they're not going to live forever, and so Pope Francis was positioning the Catholic Church for the future, and how he selected these cardinals, I think, shows in who they decided to pick. The fact that you've never had an American, there are multiple
Right.
reasons why, but for all of a sudden, at this moment, for them to pick an American pope, the cardinals are also sending a signal.
Absolutely. And like you just said, I mean, we know Francis for his humility, his care for the poor, his simplicity of life, and being a person of the people. He was smart as hell, and he knew in the last couple of years as his health was declining, he wanted to make sure he was going to stack the deck of people who cared about the values he cared about. 80% of those cardinals were people he appointed. They were new, they were from all over the world, and they had his values. And again, when they got in that room, they see what's going on in America. They see this clown who wants to be king of the world, who thinks he is king, who said he runs the world. They understand what's going on, because it's not just what he's doing is not, as we all know, not an American problem. What he's doing is a global problem. And I think them appointing this guy at this time from Chicago, from America, and you got to remember, not only an American, but from Chicago, in a city and a state that is being targeted by this administration. So I think the Cardinals are a smarter group than I thought they were.
We also have something going on here. Remember, during the election, Donald Trump was critical of Catholics voting for President Joe Biden, himself a Catholic. You have this strain of bishops in the United States who are very conservative. In fact, Pope Francis removed a bishop in Texas who was one of his biggest critics, who was very conservative. And so that also, I think, is just very interesting as well, because that's also slapping down these very conservative bishops. And you have this battle going on, because you have these right-wing Catholics on the Supreme Court, an Alito, a Clarence Thomas, and others. And it's just a very interesting time within American Catholicism, where you got these Catholics who are aligning with these right-wing conservative evangelicals, but then on the other hand, you got popes who are talking about caring for the poor, the disenfranchised, and not being so tied to oligarchs and billionaires.
Yeah, I think that you just named it completely. I think it is so important right now, because this Christian nationalism that has trying to redefine Christianity, redefine Jesus, and they're using it for their own wicked purpose. That here comes a guy in that says, wait a minute, let me define, let me define as the head of the largest Christian religion in the world. Let me redefine who this Jesus is, and who this
Right.
concerned about, and about respect for people and dignity to life, and about inclusion and not judgment and pushing people away. In many ways, Roland, this guy could be stronger than even Francis was, because he's from America. He sees what's going on here, and he understands the poor from Peru, and he's younger. So he's going to be around for. He's 69 years old. He can travel a lot. His health is good. This guy, I think, puts on notice this Christian right wing Christianity, and the people like Trump and his little clowns that are trying to control the. I think they better be worried. I heard Trump put out a statement today. He was so happy about the Pope. Hold on to that statement.
Well, it also was just grossly insulting, where Pope Francis dies, and
Yeah.
this idiot is says, "Oh yeah, I love to be Pope," and then Senator Lindsey Graham, they're touting that, and then how insulting, where Catholics around the world and Christians around the world are mourning Pope Francis, and this asshole stands in front of the cameras and go, they can't take a joke?
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
a period of mourning. That's the kind
Yeah.
of person this man is.
Well, two things on that. Number one is we saw when Francis died, not just Catholics, but as I mentioned, across the world, people were pouring out from all denominations. People that weren't even Christians were saying, what this man stood for is what we need right now in the world and what we need in America. So then you come out and make a joke of this. And I, as I was saying to people, every place I've been in since the weekend is where every Catholic, every Christian should have come out and condemned him. I saw that there was a group of bishops in the East Coast that did. I think we're going to hear more now that this is over with. There's not the going on with the conclave. You're going to hear more condemning it. But this guy, he understands that he cares about one thing, and that's his ego is so big. His hunger for power is so great. He doesn't even make sense. And so he does stupid things. And this, the Pope had barely been buried. Haven't even elected a new one yet. And he's dressed up in Pope guards with AI. And then with Lindsey Graham saying, oh, I think he'd be a great Pope. And Trump saying, yes, he thought he would too.
I make this point all the time that the right wing, they love the Catholic position against abortion, but
Right.
they never want to talk about the Catholic position regarding the death penalty.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They are a cafeteria style group, They'll pick this and again, like even the Cardinal here had come out in Chicago and said that, we got to be careful with these people that call themselves pro-life. They are not. The Christian right is not pro-life. They're pro-birth. And I'm not even sure they're pro-birth. I think they just grab on that and throw that out there as one of the things they stand for. But I think that they are not, and they don't want to talk about the death penalty, and they don't want to talk about the church's social justice stand. And, this Pope came out, condemning what's going on in Gaza and Ukraine and condemning what's happening to the immigrants. You never heard quote that. You never heard Trump quote that.
Well, I think it's going to be. I think that this is important, and I do believe with the billions being cut, where poor people are dying across the world.
Absolutely.
because of these savages in the Oval Office who don't care. Trump doesn't care. Elon Musk doesn't care. You're right. They call themselves pro-life. I've always said they're not pro-life. They're anti-abortion. And what they are doing, and to have the leader of the Catholic Church in this powerful position, who I believe can strongly stand up against them and call them out, I think that's going to be critically important. So I can't wait to see what his first moves are now that he has the most powerful position in the Roman Catholic Church.
And the other thing that I want to add to that, Roland, is that I think in the last months, and particularly since January, so many people are hopeless right now. So many people see what's going on in government, see everything being cut, seeing poor people being thrown out. You take banning Black history, the stuff that's going on. I've just ran into so many people who are depressed and hopeless, and I'll tell you, from the time Francis died, the way they talked about him, and today, what you're seeing across this world, I've seen from Jewish leaders, from Muslim leaders, from Christian leaders of all faiths, talking about what the excitement about what this guy brings. He also, I think, loosens a hope again that we can get some moral authority voice that can continue what Francis was doing and speak loudly, because certainly this Pope got a poll of the world after Francis. This is what people are looking for: care for the vulnerable, the marginalized, the poor, and courageous enough to speak against injustices. The world cried out and said, "This is what we're looking for," and I think he may be the one to do it.
All right, Father Pfleger, it's always great to see you. Keep doing the great work there in Chicago, brother. And I hope to see you soon on my next visit to the Shire.
Love you, man. Take care. Peace.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.